section of the libretto that we've scored for. So for the last 3 months we've been working quite intensely on this specific score. And it's a standalone piece within a much larger libretto of 15 sections. And this week, in the last 3 months, the score had been written, and then in the last week, we've been rehearsing. What's next? Well, we need some money in the pot. The plan is to apply for production funding in January. And at the moment, we're still in conversation as to whether we score for 2 more pieces and present a triptych of 3 standalone pieces, including shelter. Or the other possibility is we could concentrate on producing shelter and do a small tour. So each section within the libretto is a standalone, but they're all connected by the bigger themes within the libretto, Natasha.
How would you summarise the bigger themes?
I think the writing really, wasn't definitive. Recognising it's quite a big subject and it's quite dark material and it's quite timeless material. I think it was an attempt at an exploration, and that was my beginning as a librettist, and always having written with the intention that the libretto would be sung. So it was always intended to work in collaboration with the composer.
So if it was a triptych, what would you cover in the second and third episodes?
Ashley and I are in conversation. I like a particular piece called United Nations. And it looks at a lot of denial and a lot of hypocrisy. And there's also potential within United Nations to explore buffoonery and dark humour. We recognise it isn't easy material, and so it's finding accessible ways to develop an audience for such material. But we also plan with each section to treat, as well as each section having a distinct musical score, each standalone section would be theatrically treated differently. So we would anticipate 3 sections would easily be one night's entertainment.
Why the name Natasha?
It's intended to be symbolic for women. It's an old Russian term for prostitutes. So there isn't a character called Natasha in any of the sections, and in fact there isn't a character Natasha isn't referred to. But in the whole libretto as a whole, I was wanting to talk about young females and females of all ages, so it's a symbolic title.
So again, you say dramatisation. How would you take a piece like what we just heard, Shelter?
It's of itself really,
Yeah.
due to the score is part graphic and it's quite a complex score, so we recognise that the performers would need accompanied the sheet music. So so it would be in and of itself. This is predominantly as it would be staged.
There's something quite extraordinary about the physicality of all of their performances though. For me, I'm not a musician, any connection of imagination, so probably what I'm going to say sounds naive. But that contributed significantly to telling the story. It really did for me. And I thought was quite remarkable. And at one point I sat there and thought, if I don't watch, what will I hear? And it is, and I love what you're saying, it's a performance in itself. And yeah, I think that, and I wouldn't begin to be able to do that, but I think there's something about how it is positioned in the space and how that works and interactions with each other. I was just completely fascinated by that. Just the exchanges that were going on, the gestures that were made, the use of the body in producing the sound and the music was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And I think it works particularly well in such an intimate space.
Yes,
Because the whole piece is about entrapment. And the stages of relationship between young females and older husbands. And the stages, the relationship dynamics and, the honeymoon stages and the chaos in the piece. But also what was really important, and it was something that Ashley and I talked about right at the beginning, we also wanted to, in the musical landscape, we wanted to build in. So we didn't want to just talk about the impossibility of freedom, we also wanted to juxtapose, albeit faint.
I think the hope was very yeah, it was very dark, very sinister, and quite unnerving, actually. Quite uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think it does produce a physical reaction, a physical feeling. And my image of the faint hope was in the almost the bird-like fluttering at the window. Wonderful bird-like fluttering. But also in the beautiful chorale-like passages where you could feel the spirit soaring, but then it became enclosed once more. So, as I said to you before, I found it very, very telling. And I think the atmosphere in the room was completely gripped by
I must say, this has been quite an education for me, because my knowledge of opera has been rather confined to the traditional stuff. So I'm just absolutely captivated by the different effects that could be achieved through these instruments and also through the human voice. And it's been a total education for me. Absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
I congratulate everybody involved in it.
Thank you, John.
Just talking about the staging and sort of the setup of things again. I really appreciated the fact that it wasn't overly staged. I think it did use the word landscape, and I think it really played into that, and it allowed, at least for myself, to kind of really be engrossed in the piece and not focus on any one person at any time. It kind of just felt like we were kind of listening in on somebody's thoughts and kind of experiencing a mood or a history of somebody. And because it was just the performer standing there, your focus wasn't overly drawn to anything. You just were able to be immersed in it, and I thought that was really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Again, we were trying to talk about both Laura and Laura were portraying one person, and the ages and the history, and the possibility to regain childhood we were talking about or trying to explore fragmentation of memory.
I think that came across very well. Yeah.
Escapism. Interesting.
I'm afraid, Jane, I need to be somewhere else. So thank you very much.
It's terrible about it. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you. Before you all depart, could I kindly ask if you have any questions for Ashley, the composer?
Actually, yeah, at one point you did substitute a bow for the wooden stick, and I think that wasn't just effect, the sake of effect. So what was that?
No, not part of the rationale. It doesn't have any sort of musical metaphor, but part of the rationale of the extended technique is that they arrive from the ability, or rather the desire to express something. So it's just part of an expanded technical vocabulary. It's just a different sort of sonic landscape to something that we're used to hearing, and more in that sort of chaotic collective landscape. It's sort of provides a different texture. It provides something different. Plus, if you do